One of the nation's top federal immigration and border security officials is the man responsible for enforcement of those travel restrictions. He joins us tonight from Washington, D.C., Acting Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Mark Morgan. Mark, good to have you with us. A lot of questions are arising. The announcement that some airports would be, for example, screening for temperatures, when I think much of the country just assumed that that was taking place in the face of this pandemic. Why is it only taking place now?
Well, Lou, let's go back to what you started and what this president did, that historic, unprecedented travel restrictions.
Commissioner, let me say, Mark, you and I, we know each other well. I assure you, I respect you deeply, and I've always felt that was reciprocated. Let's deal with what I'm asking. Because it's important. It's very important. The history, this audience understands the history. The reality is that those temperature checks, most Americans believed they were already in place. Why were they not?
Well, right now, look, I'm coming this from a law enforcement perspective. So I'm not the medical expert here. So what we are doing, though, is we are working with the CDC, HHS, and other healthcare providers to come up with a solution that is effective, a common sense, effective solution. And right now, Lou, what we've done, those entering the countries, including those areas, CBP, we have screened almost 300,000 people. That means 300,000 people that have come in, we have effectively screen them and then push them on to medical experts for further screening. So that is being done. Now, what we've done from that 300,000, only a handful have been identified needing further screening and ultimately were found to have COVID. So right now, those screening procedures, they're effective. That doesn't mean we can't continue to improve, and we are having those discussions.
Okay, and that's terrific. We're 3 months into this. And the reality is that temperatures apparently haven't been taken to this point, or there wouldn't have been an announcement last week that you were beginning those temperature screenings. Secondly, there's a ban on travel from China. There is a ban, as you know, the other regions and countries. And yet, I think, again, most Americans are surprised to learn we're talking about millions of people, not hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands coming into this country from nations that were banned. And we're not talking about U.S. nationals. We're talking about foreign nationals.
Look, Lou, this president has been very clear as well, is there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance between addressing the very real concerns from a public health standpoint as well as an economic standpoint. That is a challenging balance. We have to take both of those into account. We have to be thoughtful and methodical as we're applying that. But we just can't turn off and shut everything off. We have to be reasonable and methodical about that and balance that. And right now, one of the things we're doing is we're piloting certain additional screening to see if it's effective. Lou, you know as well as I do, and so do your listeners, is, look, a lot of people are asymptomatic with this. So even a temperature check, look, I'm not a medical health professional, but we know there are a lot of people who have had screening who are completely asymptomatic, including the temperature check, that later were found out to have COVID. So we have to be reasonable, thoughtful.
I understand.
We have to do this by a data-driven approach.
And I comprehend that part. Like you, I'm not a medical expert, but I'm something of if you will, an educated person when it comes to screening, immigration, in fact, in ports of entry, in what is de rigueur across the country. Even that has not been followed, is my understanding. And by the way, you said that on this broadcast, that we were taking the words of people traveling from those countries as to whether or not their origin was what they said it was. And I'm wondering, have we become more sophisticated and competent in that regard?
Lou, we have been, and we're constantly monitoring and shifting to improve what we're doing. I'll give you an example. Just this week, the president authorized the extension of two very important travel restrictions at our land POEs, our ports of entry, as well as in between the ports of entry. The CDC issued an order extending the order that's been very effective, those coming across our border illegally. Now with that order, that CDC order, we're able to remove those individuals immediately back to Mexico within an hour. That means we're not bringing them in our facilities. We're not exposing our workforce or the immigrants or American citizens. Just before COVID, we had over 3,500 individuals in our holding facilities. And now because of the CDC's order and that travel restriction, we have less than 100. That's an effective containment mitigation strategy. At our land ports of entry, we have the non-essential travel, as I know you've talked about. Right after that was instituted, we saw a drop of over 400,000 people per day entering this country. Lou, 400,000 people. That's an effective containment and mitigation strategy. They are working. Does that mean we can't improve? No. We're constantly working with people. We're working with USG officials. We're working with local leaders to see where we can improve.
Well, and I commend you for that, because so many government agencies, in fact, never acknowledge that there is room for improvement, never acknowledge, in point of fact, that their systems are in place are not perfect. And I know you as a person and as a leader, I have the highest regard for the fact that you take a look at the prospect of failure, recognize deficiencies, and move to meet them. What do you consider to be the greatest concern for you? What keeps you awake, as the saying goes, in terms of border security, immigration policy, and screening?
Well, that's a great question. Here's what keeps me awake, is right now this country, the citizens of this country have made tremendous sacrifices. They've listened to the medical experts. They have done the things that they've been asked for. And just as this country starts to reopen in a thoughtful, methodical way, reopen this economy as we should, what keeps me awake is what's happening outside our borders. Mexico, for example, their cases are continuing to incline, both cases and deaths. Right. The Western Hemisphere, Brazil, for example, now becomes the Western Hemisphere epicenter. We apprehended 148 people from 148 different countries last year. A lot of them traveled through Brazil. So what concerns me right now, what keeps me up, is as we are doing everything that we can in this country to reopen this economy, I'm concerned that we could be introducing people from outside our borders that could jeopardize that. And we have to shut that down. And we have to do that in a balanced way of the public health and the economic issues. And that's exactly what we're doing.
And, of course, these arrivals from China banned, and the origin of the Wuhan virus. To see that number of people coming in here is, I think you would acknowledge, unsettling, because the ban is in place. That is and remains a hot spot, along with northeastern China, now that the Chinese government has locked down another 100 million of its citizens because of flare-ups there. How are you responding to that?
Again, Lou, we're constantly monitoring. And like you said, so we're making sure we're taking a look at our screening procedures, and we're seeing what areas and how can we get more effective with those screening procedures. We're looking at our contact tracing. We're seeing where can we get more effective and where can we improve on that contact tracing to make sure the individual that does come into our border through the airport, for this example, that they're screened effectively, they're evaluated from a medical health perspective, and that they're isolated accordingly per the CDC guidelines. And we have effective contact tracing to be able to enforce that. Those are all things that we're looking at. We're constantly trying to improve and get better. But again, I'll push it back to the land POEs and in between the POEs. This time last year, we had 20,000 people in our custody. Right now, can you imagine a single person that crossed our border illegally that was infected in COVID could not only infect countless of our workforce, but hundreds of immigrants themselves, then would overwhelm our local healthcare system. That has all been turned off because of these orders.
Mark Morgan, that's why we invited you here tonight, to take it all up. And we appreciate it, and we appreciate everything that Customs and Border Protection is doing for the country. We appreciate it. Good to see you.